exam podcast for level 1 and level 2 functional skills, the Excel paper. So we're going to have a look at a few different tasks and questions that can come up in the exam, and we're hopefully going to give you some answers for the way to answer them and the layout and the format. So in the writing exam, the normal tasks that you could get are going to be the letter, the email, a forum, an article and a review. So we're going to have a look at each one. Before you write or before you finish your exam, there's a few things that you should be looking at in your writing. So have you written clearly? Have you given enough detail? At level 2 you're expected to write quite a bit. Have you written logically? So if you're doing the letter, have you begun with why you're writing? Have you ended with what you want to get from them? Have you written for the right audience? So this means if you're writing a formal letter, you're not going to chat as if you're talking to one of your mates. Have you used a sense of purpose? Have I used the right form? So basically it's set out correctly. Have I used sentences? Have I checked my spelling, which are pretty basic. At level 1 and level 2 you should have a pretty clear idea about these things. So if we look at letters first, there's normally going to be two types of letter. It's going to be formal letter and, surprise surprise, informal letter. 99% in the exam you will get a formal letter, normally to the council or applying for a job or a letter of complaint to a hotel. So you do get a mark at level 1 and level 2 for picking the correct conclusion or signing off to your letter. So we've got 3 ones here. So Dear Mum would obviously be informal, Dear Miss Robinson and Dear Sir Madam. So obviously these two here are going to be the formal ones. So have a quick look yourself and I'll give you sort of 10 seconds to decide which one goes with which one. Okay? So Dear Mum is very informal, so obviously that one is going to be take care. Dear Miss Robinson, as we know their name of the person, then it's going to be sincere. Because basically if you know their name, you're supposed to be friendly as you know their name. Sincere basically means being friendly towards someone. And that means that Dear Sir is going to go with yours faithfully. Another way of remembering it is that if it's Dear Sir at the top, it can't be sincere, as in there can't be 2 S's. So if it's Dear Sir at the top, you can't have the S at the bottom. So Dear Sir and Madam, faithfully, and if it's a name, then it's sincerely. So here is at the top is a bit of a structure for how to set out your writing. Don't worry too much about the actual paragraphs, because at level 1 you should be writing 3 paragraphs, and at level 2 you should be writing at least 3 paragraphs with a bit more writing. But I've chosen this photo here basically to show that you put your address on the right hand side. You will get the address in the exam question that goes on the left hand side. If they give a name, you can put Dear Ms or Dear Miss or Dear Mrs. The rule of thumb is that if it doesn't say Mrs, you would put Ms, because we don't really know if they're married or not and we don't want to offend the person. So Ms is the formal way of doing it. Okay. If in the question it says something like write to John Sandu, you wouldn't put Dear John Sandu, you would put Dear Mr. Sandu, as it's formal. Okay, so like we said, if they give the name at the top, then it's going to be sincere. In your letter, you should always write three paragraphs, and these are going to be why you are writing. The second paragraph, so why you're writing, for example, would be in the question. So I'm writing to complain about the service in a hotel. Number 2 is called the information paragraph. This is basically giving you the details about the topic. So if we're writing about a complaint, here you would talk about things like the service was poor, the food was cold, there was no fresh towels. That's basically where it's going to be all your information. The third paragraph is called the action paragraph, and it basically means what you want to happen in the future. So if we carry on with the hotel analogy, it would be that you would like a refund or you would like a written apology from the hotel owner. Okay, so make sure, so level 1 and level 2 you're writing 3 paragraphs. Level 2 you would need to write a bit more than that. So here is an exam question. So it's number 2 from level 2, sorry, and it's basically a very exciting topic about waste collection. So basically the question is, if you want to read it through, pause the podcast. It's basically the council are changing the rules for their waste collection. So instead of taking it every 2 weeks, it's now going to be every 3 weeks. Glass and cans was put into separate bins. All other waste will not be collected, and basically if you muck up a few times, they give you fined, and they might even stop doing it if you completely do it wrong. So like I said earlier, they will give you the address, so you've got to use that, and basically in your letter you've got to make sure that you answer why you're writing, give your views about it, and give reasons for your views. So if we look at an example, your address, which they don't give you in the exam question, should go in the top right hand corner. Their address, which they do give you in the exam question, will go just under towards the left. You've also got to put the date in between these addresses. For example, 11th of November 2013, don't write down 11/11/2013. You've got to make sure you write the date out in full, as this is a formal letter. So, Dear Miss Kliplova, as we know, it just says her name. We don't want to put Dear Hannah Kliplova, as it's too informal. So, like I said, the introduction is going to be why you're writing. So, I've seen the changes that the council are making on the 20th of March. I'm writing in as I'm extremely unhappy with this decision and would like some clarification on this matter. So that's pretty simple, and it's pretty clear to say why you're writing. At level 2, you need to get away from starting your text with I am writing to you because. That's very, it's fine probably at level 1, but at level 2, we're looking for a bit more maturity, and starting without that shows a little bit of deeper learning. So, like I said, second paragraph is the information. So, firstly, it says that all household rubbish will be collected once every 3 weeks, not every 2 weeks. This is outrageous. How are we expected to cope? Secondly, we will be charged money if we get it wrong, even though this is a new scheme. I do not agree with this, as a lot of people struggle with debts already. They do not need more. Finally, I hate the way the public are just told, and we're expected to go along with it because we need you. I'm not impressed. So we look back at the question, we've given the reasons for our views, and we basically said what we don't like about it. The last paragraph, as I said, is the action paragraph. So what do you want? So what do you want to get from this letter? So down here it says, as you can tell, I'm very concerned about this because it affects everyone. I would like a reply from you as soon as possible. So their action is they want to reply as soon as possible. So we end it with yours sincerely because we know their name. So we put sincere. Another thing that's been done on this exam question is the use of signposting. So firstly, secondly, and finally. Basically, this is just using like a word or a phrase at the start of the sentence, and it gives you a clue about what's coming next in the sentence. Basically, it just shows you that you've got a deeper understanding, your writing's a little bit more complex, and these words at level 2 we should be expecting. Also remember silly things like capitals from addresses. People forget this, and it could cost you the difference between pass and fail. It's very simple. So capital letter on anything on the address, and leave 5 empty lines, but we don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, so this is another example of a letter that you can, if you want to pause, you can have a go at, and then we're going to have a look at emails now. Basically, the email, apart from the addresses, should be written the same way as the letter. So normally in the exam question, the email address will be filled out for you that you're writing to. You need to make sure that you write in the subject box. So this would basically be a title for your email. So this email written down here, so pause if you want to read it, is basically about a party, a birthday party. So it's written the same way in terms of first paragraph is why you're writing, second paragraph is all your information, third paragraph is the action paragraph, what you want to do. So in this case, they want to reply as soon as possible, and they want to know if people have food allergies for the party. So intro, why you're writing, information, action paragraph. The email 99% of the time will be informal, so this means you can write it less formally than a letter. So instead of putting dear, you can just put hi everyone, and you can put regards or see you soon, because this is an email to your friends or family. Please though, don't start writing like you're speaking like a gangster and start putting in it and spelling with text speak. That's a common mistake people make and they fail because of it. Okay, so at level 1, this would probably be as much as you want to write. At level 2, a little bit more. So here's an example of a level 2 exam question. Same as the letter really, it gives you a complaint and you're writing an email and you've got to make sure you get these bullet points in. So the subject line I put this one would be watch complaint, very simple. Forums. So you may be asked to write in a forum, and basically a forum, if you don't know, is an internet discussion. So they will give an example, they will give a question on a forum. In this case, should 16-year-olds be given the vote? And one person here, Samir, will say that people should be allowed to vote at 16, and Lucy below will say they shouldn't be allowed to vote. Normally, the two opinions will be opposing, so one for, one against. As it's a discussion on the internet, the language will be informal, so like the same language as you'd use in your email. Okay, so basically what you've got to do is read what they say and basically write your opinion, give your reasons for your opinion, and then compare and contrast theirs. So for example, I agree with Samir because, but Lucy, I do not agree with you because. Okay, so there's just a bigger example of that question I just talked about. If you want to pause it, pause away. Here's another example. Should the teachers and school children be shown on reality TV? So look at the way it's written. I completely and utterly disagree with you, Ria. So that's how the sort of tone you should be using with yours. Try to be for and against quite strongly. Don't go, well, I don't really know. Okay. Articles. So these normally happen at level 2, but it can come at level 1. This question here is one that the examiner's seem quite keen on. 99% of the time it will be a school, college, workplace magazine that they want you to write an article for. This example is writing an article on someone you admire. So basically someone you think is a role model. So if you're writing for a school magazine, try to use appropriate language for that. In your article, still say what you're writing about, why you're writing about it. We're going to use titles and headings, introduce and conclude the article, and we're going to have a look at an example of an article on the next page. So this article, if you want to pause and read it, it's about 30 things that to do before you're 30. So these two women, Claudia Connell and Leah Hardy, have written a humorous article for the Daily Mail, and they're saying that when women get to 30, they should give up these things 1 to 10. It's written humorously, it's written a bit tongue-in-cheek. The idea is that they're trying to persuade you to agree with your views, with their views, sorry. So, they've got a catchy headline, 30 things to do before you're 30. The first sentence is designed to make you read more and to get you interested in the article. So they're given a rhetorical question here. So if you remember when we've talked about persuasive language, they say this week Esquire magazine produced a definitive list of things men should give up once they reach 30. But what about women? So they're trying to get you to carry on reading. So they use bold subheadings, which you can use in your article. It's written in paragraphs, which any piece of writing should be. And if you can't quite read it here, an article, like I said before, is very opinionated. So you can use exaggerated and emotive language. So an example down here would be chewed fingers are cute on teenagers, but slobbish, ugly. Those are examples of emotive language. Okay, so articles are usually formal text which informs the reader about something. So articles are normally in newspapers, magazines, schools' newsletter, but they are still giving us information. The main point is that you're giving information, but you're trying to persuade the reader to agree with your point of view. So those two women in the Daily Mail article were trying to get you to agree that the women should stop doing these things when they're 30. You can use facts and figures to support your information. Probably in the exam situation, you're going to struggle to think of too many facts, but if you can, then that's fine. Here's a little structure for your article. So read through that if you like to. Pause if you want to. Here's another example. So this one is about working for the community. So same again, they've written in paragraphs. They've written a catchy few sentences at the start. They've written a headline to try to get us. They've used subheadings, and they've used emotive language. So same as before, they're trying to get us. They're using the same tools as the other article. Another thing you can do to catch someone's attention, which we've already talked about, is use rhetorical questions in your headline. So if we're writing this article above about bullying, they want you to write about bullying in a school magazine, you can actually start your article with, surely we can get rid of bullies in school. That would be a good way, a rhetorical question, and it would show the examiners that you know how to write an article. Okay, so another example from the edXL textbook is this question about you need to write an article for the newspaper to suggest 3 ideas for an affordable day out. So 3 ideas for an affordable day out. This would be a pass answer. This is by no means a great answer, but it's got a headline, it's got subheadings under these ones, and it's written, gives information, and it tries to persuade you that these 3 ideas are really, really good. It's by no means a great answer, but it's an example of a pass one. So the mark scheme has said that we've got a clear description, it's written in a correct tone, they use paragraphs, most words are spelt correctly. Yeah, basically it's a nice solid answer. This would be an example of a fail. So if you look at it, a few things have done well. The spelling is okay, some of the commas are okay, but the main things, there's a lot of things wrong with it. So for example, there's no heading. The words are spelt wrong: jacuzzi, course, rising, lovely. There's no full stops. They've actually got the wrong end of the stick on the question. They're meant to talk about 3 days out, and they've just talked about 1. It's basically a poor answer, which tells that they've not read the question properly, they've rushed it, they've not proofread their work, and it's a fail answer. One important thing to note about this answer is, though, that in the mark scheme, the examiner will only mark you wrong for what is classed as common words. So for example, you go back quickly. So common words. So for example, if you spelt lovely, course, have, would wrong, you would be marked down for that. But if you wrote a word like jacuzzi, a word that you've probably never spelt before, that's an uncommon word and they wouldn't mark you down for that. Okay, so an example that's been used in one of my classes this year is from a hair and makeup group, and I asked them to write an article about one of the worst types of hair and beauty. So they could pick whatever they wanted to do, and they had to be assessed on their structure, spelling, punctuation and grammar. So basically what you're going to get marked on in the exam. So a student example here that was very good was an article about fake tan. So they've got their headline of "You've been tangoed," which is quite striking. Their first few little introductory sentences are, "In the last 10 years, teenagers have gone tango crazy. In this article, we look at the difference between a top tan and a trashy tango." So they try to come up with a very catchy thing, and I think it's pretty successful. So they've used the words top tan and trashy tango. So the repetition of the consonant of the T is alliteration, which is probably something that you have looked at in secondary school. So they've also given subheadings on each topic, and they come up with a little catchy conclusion at the end. Obviously this is just a structure, so they've not filled in the actual paragraphs, but they've given good subheadings, they've given a good headline, and they've got the conclusion, they've got the structure as they should. So here's another structure. So from the one exam question we looked at a second ago on the role model, so David Beckham, why I admire him, as a headline. I'm writing my article on David Beckham. Probably should avoid doing this. Like I said before, we don't want to start with "I am writing because," but the structure of it's good. They've given 4 like subheadings that structure the article, and they've given a conclusion. Okay, the last one, reviews. So a review is subject and personal. Personal knowledge and authority will make your conclusions count. However, you still need to support your point with valid reasons. So if you think about a review, a film review, the whole point is that that reviewer is given his own opinion, his and only his opinion on that film or book. Normally they're going to talk about it being fantastic or not very good. So they focus on the strengths and the weaknesses of. If you think of a film, they focus on the strength and the weaknesses. They might use evidence to support this. So, for example, this film only took $1 million in the first week of it being out, while it was expected to take $20 million. Okay. At the end of it, you want to draw to a conclusion at the end, saying basically summing up your main point. But remember to give your personal opinion. Don't say you're not sure about something. We either want it to be fantastic or not very good. So if we look at the example, this is from Heat magazine. I know it's not very clear, but they give a good headline. They give an image. They give some facts here about the actors and the running time and the director. But what I wanted to show you was they put it into good sections. So here they talk about the plot. So we give a paragraph about what's happening on in the film. Obviously, you're not going to give away the end because people are going to see the film. But you give a good summation of the plot. Here it says what to write with it. So what's good. You can have a little paragraph here, what's not so good, and then the verdict at the end to sum up your opinion. So if we look at these two structures, we probably want to look at this one as the better one. This is the plan for your movie review. So a catchy title, similar to the article. Summarise the film like we just seen in the Heat magazine. What was good, what was bad, and the final comments. To show the examiner you really know what you're doing with reviews, you could give it 1 out of 5 stars or whatever you got to review. Here is the actual exam question to do with reviews. And it's about basically doing a review of the city you live in. And you've got to make sure you talk about the details of the place, what goes on there, the good points about being there, and any other information. Because you're writing for like a website, like a travel website, you're not going to write that it's dreadful. The idea is that you're trying to sell people and trying to persuade people to come and visit Bournemouth or London or Paris or wherever you pick. So here is the mark scheme for the level 2. So the first question is always out of 15. The exam's out of 25. The first question's out of 15. Second question's out of 10. So if we look at this, you can get 9 marks for your form, communication and purpose. So this basically means setting out with the right format, the right layout, and basically showing the examiner you know how to write a review, the letter, the email. So saying that you know how to write it and also saying you know the difference between them. And then a maximum of 6 marks is spelling, punctuation and grammar, so full stops, capital letters, apostrophes. The good thing about this is that if you do struggle with spelling and punctuation, that is only a smaller part of the exam. So question 2, like I said, is out of 10. So this time 6 marks possible on the layout, the format, the purpose, showing that you know how to write, and the maximum of 4 marks on the spelling and punctuation. Start with why you're writing. So like I said before, this doesn't mean you go and I am writing this because, but you must say your purpose of writing at the start of it. Okay, so if we recap on it again, like this is from the start of the podcast, have you written clearly? Have I used enough detail? Is it logical? Have I written for the right audience? Have I got a clear sense of purpose? Have I used the right form and layout? Have I used sentences full stops? Have I checked my spelling and capital letters and punctuation? You must proofread your exam. If you don't proofread, that could be the difference between failing and passing. 99% of the time, you will find at least 1 mistake. So it's really important that you check. Again, a few more rules. Like I said before, no text speak. There's no such thing as a little I. So people write this because it's a text thing and they don't. On spell check, it auto corrects it. On the exam, you're not going to get spell check. So there is no such thing as this small I. It's always got to be a capital I, like this one here. Check your homophones are correct. So these are there, and there. Make sure you're using the correct one. Any word you're not 100% sure about, please use a dictionary. If you don't use paragraphs, you will not pass. Please use paragraphs. Capital letters, town, road name, country, business, country, anything that you know capital letters should be on, make sure you check them. And like before, I said, just spend 5 minutes and proofread your work. So that is the end of the podcast. I think I pretty much covered everything. Hopefully it's given you a few pointers or just refresh your memory on a few things. And good luck on your English exam whenever you do it.